All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for attending, and thank you to the founders who submitted some challenges or some questions that we're going to tackle today. We had a really great response rate. So thank you for your time. I am Katie Murphy. I'm founder and CEO of Knex. If you haven't checked us out, if you don't know about us, we are a marketplace that matches founders and business owners to vetted fractional expertise. So these are your first advisor on an equity only basis, coaches, consultants, fractional execs, of course, temporary to permanent leaders. And we've actually been asked to do board members recently. So that is likely coming. But our whole point, why we're here, is to eliminate hiring risk for founders and business owners. And we do that through vetting the talent that is on Knex. We've had over 400 professionals join us since we launched last April, but only 25% of those can get a verified testimonial from a real human. So we use social proof, and then I also meet with every single professional on Knex before they can apply or basically be included in match results. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have about Knex at the end, but we're going to hopefully tackle at least a few problems here with founders today. And I'd like you to hear from our amazing operators here, fractional COOs, chiefs of staff, head of strategy, you name it. These ladies have done it. Natalie, would you like to get started, introduce yourself, and then Sarah after that?
Yes, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie. I am a fractional COO, strategic ops leader. I usually work with seed to Series B startups or mission-based companies, and companies usually hire me at two inflection points. Either A, everything lives in the founder's head, all the knowledge, all the processes, and we need to actually build the company's operational foundation so the company can start actually becoming a walking, talking company. The second is when the company is scaling. Think of it as a company where it's starting to really run, but everything starts breaking. Your team's really burnt out. You think you have a people issue, and really it's an operational issue. So I come in, I remove the processes that don't work anymore, streamline everything, automate it so your team gets their life and capacity back. And in addition, I coach fractionals on how to either start their fractional business or evolve it so it becomes a actual running business for themselves. And so that's a little bit about me. Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I run Signal Path Advisory, fractional COO, Chief of Staff, Strategy, and Operations. I have two tracks to my business. I can come in as an embedded COO or Chief of Staff, embed right into your team and help create leverage. I typically come in, I work with seed to Series B, typically B2B SaaS companies or companies kind of right in the ecosystem outside of that. My background is I spent about 10 years at Bain doing strategy go-to-market consulting at software companies, and then worked as an operator in B2B SaaS for another 8 years. So my background lends nicely to that type of work. When I'm embedded in companies, I typically come in at the point where things are feeling slow, they're feeling disorganized, they're feeling chaotic, and someone needs to come in and bring the organization, bring the accountability culture, and get especially the CEO their time back. Time back so they can be doing founder-led sales, so they can be doing product vision, so they can be doing fundraising, those things that only founders and CEOs can be doing, and that they're not managing deal exceptions, billing errors, and other things like that that someone operationally can and should be handling. So managing junior staff, managing execution, making sure projects are staying on track, and things like that. The other side of my business is more project based, so helping with strategic or operational problems. So helping identify and prioritize target markets, helping fix or implement broken systems, implementing a deal desk, implementing an HRIS, fixing or implementing a billing system, other things like that. And that's me.
So impressive. Well, thank you both for donating your time. Hopefully, you'll get some work out of this too. So, I've put in the chat at the top, I will at the end as well, the next profiles for both Natalie and Sarah. You can actually book free consults with each of them directly from their next page. And the perks for today, if you are a business, you can get $500 off a fractional engagement with either these two, or some if you don't need a COO right now and need a different expert. It does have to be a minimum 90-day engagement though. And then for our fractionals in the room, you can get a free month of premium. And I'm happy to follow up on what is included in premium, but this event is one of those things, partnering with our customers, our users on some marketing. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can jump to the meat of it and I can monitor people's faces, hands risen for questions, and the chat. So, Edwin, would you mind introducing us? A little short introduction of who you are, what your business is, and what your challenge is, maybe in less than 2 minutes.
Yes, well, I'm Edwin Chavels. I'm the founder of Lang Optima. We are deep from the localization industry originally, but now we are selling a product that is a real data infrastructure for large enterprises. It's foundational work that makes AI systems stop hallucinating, essentially. It's in the form of knowledge graph. So it's a very technical product. But the service is also there through ontological development and knowledge graph curation. So these are clearly, very technical subjects, but it's the kind of thing that large enterprise data directors and such are very excited about. I say entity disambiguation to them, and they love it. But CEOs have no clue what that is. So I've got a challenge because the people that need it most often don't know that they need it, especially some of the C-suite folks, except for the data guys. So how do you shorten sales cycles when your buyer has to be educated before they can be sold to? Is my question.
So I'm happy to take a first hack at this one, having spent a lot of time in B2B SaaS and a bit of time with more technical products. And without knowing this space directly, I'd say technical products, I've spent a little bit of time in security infrastructure and things like that. So similarly, technical topics. I think there are a few things to consider here. One is, are you selling the problem instead of the solution? So are you in these sales discussions, are you clear on what is the problem that's being solved and the value that they're getting from it? What's being de-risked? What's the ROI? What's the cost savings? What's the risk elimination or whatever it may be? Because even if it's a technical product, that should still be really, really clear and real to a non-technical buyer. And then the other piece is, do you have the right people in the room? If you have technical buyers that are excited about it, then it seems like you're probably on to the right thing. You need those people in the room with the CEO. These are trusted folks. The CEO doesn't want to hear from you, it's a great solution. They want to hear from their direct report that it's a great solution. So how do you build that person as a champion? And how do you get a meeting with you and your champion sitting on the same side of the table, selling together to the CEO? And I think those are two strategies that you can use. But I think it's less of an education problem than it is making sure that the problem is clear and that the ROI is really clear.
Yeah, and I kind of want to piggyback off of that because I think there's two questions in here, right? There's how do you educate the potential consumer? And then it's how do you shorten the sales cycle? So in terms of educating, Sarah is extremely dead on correct there. But I also want to pull out a figure here that I think is really important. In 2025, they did a study to figure out how long and how many times a potential buyer needs to see you, your company, and your product, right? And historically, that was 5 times. But because of social media and the amount of content and information that is now getting absorbed, it's actually 13 times. So more than double the traditional original 5 times. So Sarah is 100% right. There is an education factor that needs to happen. And the fastest way is the pain point because most people don't know they need you until you explain if you are feeling A, B, C, and D, this is what's causing it. This is really the root cause. And here's that. So again, you're going to have to put content out no matter what. You're going to have to build that. So the buyers see you before they even realize they need you. Now, for the sales cycle itself, what usually ends up happening with the sales cycle is it's not the buyer making the decision, it is the timing of the whole process. So by the time a buyer is ready to buy, they want their problem solved now. So that means you have to quickly go through the lead qualification and immediately get them booked with a solution specialist. And so how I've done that previously is gone through the lead qualification. And instead of waiting for somebody to get back to them or waiting for somebody to be in touch, they need to schedule a meeting ASAP, usually within the next 2 business days. If you wait too long, then it drags and drags and drags. So then once that meeting happens and you have that demo or that meeting or whatnot, that salesperson needs to be able to quickly be able to either have an email sequence that you guys don't even have to touch, that's automated to keep you guys top of mind, or there has to be, before we even get off the call, we have a second meeting set up so we continue the process. What happens in sales cycle is either A, the client is ready to buy, but we take too long as the seller, and by then they've moved on and found somebody else. Or 2, they are ready to buy, but we are not the most important pain point they are feeling. So the longer we take in responding or getting back or having these meetings, they move on to another urgent thing, and we now get put on the back end. So your process needs to be automated. It needs to run really seamlessly, and it has to be authentic and natural to the buyer's customer journey. And again, has to be immediate, because if you take too long to qualify them or your schedule is so booked out they can't meet, they will not wait for you. When they are ready to buy, it's now.
I'm gonna throw one more. You made me think of one more thing, Natalie, which is as I think about buying stages, right, and that buying funnel and that cadence, which there are a lot of great ones out there. And Edwin, there are a lot of great ones published out there, and happy to talk more about kind of setting some of those things up. But Natalie talked about qualifying your lead, and in B2B SaaS, one thing you can use to qualify a lead is, do they have budget to buy now? Because if they don't, then you should stop pushing them. You shouldn't stop talking to them. You can put them on some drip campaign because eventually they might have budget to buy, and we want to keep educating them. But B2B buyers are on budget cycles. I mean, unless this is a really big, immediate, high risk pain point, they don't usually fathom budget out of nowhere. So if you catch them at the wrong time, then it's really just not worth pushing. But often you can hear from them, "Oh, I get fresh budget on June 1st. Great. Let's meet 2 weeks before that and start this conversation again so we can prepare for when you have funds for this type of a thing, and schedule that meeting right then when you're on the phone, but don't waste your time pushing for the couple of months in between."
What do you think, Edwin? Does that resonate?
Yeah, no, that's great. I guess I have always all kinds of questions come up. Well, in your experience, what are the best ways to qualify in this process? Like, would you automate quite a lot of that, or would you recommend like a 15-minute discovery call type situation?
Early stage, which I believe you're still pretty early stage, is that correct?
Well, yeah. So the company I'm helping is well, I'm a reseller, but the company isn't about to go to round A.
Yeah, I would do, if at all possible, a telephone discovery call because I think there's so much learning to be done at this phase about the language the buyers are using, the words, how they're reacting to your description of the pain point, how they're even reacting to your list of qualification questions. There's so much learning to be done, even that the qualification questions might not be quite right, that it is definitely worth it if at all possible. You're also making a personal relationship in that case, which is much, much stronger, and your chance to get the next meeting is much, much higher.
See, and this is where again, like there's not a one size fits all because again, Sarah is correct in everything she is saying. That being said, the way, in my opinion, that I've handled this previously and I've seen that really work is you need to talk to your sales team, the people that are really selling, because your sales team will probably tell you already if there are qualifications that they already know or if there's language they already know. Now, to Sarah's point, they might come back and say, I honestly can't figure out who's going to buy when I get on a call. In that case, exactly, you need to just set everyone up for a discovery call. However, usually in a seed stage, you have very little your team, very little capacity, your team, you've only got a couple salespeople. So if you accept everyone, then you start pushing out all of these calls. And that's when you lose the people that are really going to buy. So you can still do qualification, even if you do want to talk to everyone, but your qualification would be scheduling wise. So when are you looking to buy? Do you have the budget now? Blah, blah, blah. Like if you ask them these qualifying, if they say yes to those, then they go ahead on the schedule. Again, a pop-up comes up. They get one schedule that's this week and next week. Whereas if they say, hey, I'm not ready to buy yet, my budget doesn't come for 3 months or any of that type of stuff, you can have them go down a different route where the schedule's later on and they have more openings. This preserves the people that need you now instead of later. But again, talk to your sales team because they will be able to tell you if they've decided qualifications already that they figured out.
That'll make sense, Edwin.
Absolutely. I do like the point of the urgency of being able to book a meeting because I think that can be a problem sometimes. It's too far out.
And I will tell you that I've seen that over and over again where they won't even book a meeting. You can start a drip campaign after they don't, but they're talking to your computer or chatbot or form because they've identified they need something now. And if it's too long, they're like, screw it, like it's just not worth waiting. And I'm not saying it's rational, but that is the psychology that they deal with.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I actually think this is where adding low cost BDR capacity can be huge. While I don't want my BDRs probably selling these large deals, they absolutely can be doing qualification calls. While BDRs more typically do outbound, they absolutely can do inbound qualification calls. So to the extent you have those folks or might consider hiring one or two, they're much, much lower cost than an AE, and they increase the capacity and they increase the number of those calls that you can have in person. So with my bias to having them in person, if that's a cost-effective way to get a bunch more capacity, I would consider that as an investment.
And coming up also on Sarah's point there's also internships coming up. So that's another option. And a lot of college graduates need internship credits. So that's something to consider as well. That would get you low cost help at the beginning. And again, seasonality, like we're in that, okay, people are going to start looking for internships now.
Love it. We've got a partner for that, Edwin. If you're curious and want to hire some interns, it's a partner for everything. So awesome. Well, last couple minutes on this topic. Anything else burning top of mind for you, Edwin, or was this a valuable conversation? Do you have some action items you can take to your team?
No, that's great. I mean, it's very early stages, so it's very helpful to have some early direction and guidance. So thanks for that. Yeah, much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you for submitting, participating. What a great discussion. All right, I want to see if we've got Will or Roberto in the room. I don't think so, but will the real Will or Roberto please stand up if you are here? Once, twice. Okay. So we've got a couple options. If there are other founders, business owners, business decision makers in the room that have a burning ops challenge, something slowing down your business that you would like to talk to these two experts about, we give you the floor. Please raise your hand and we can and go on camera, please. And we can give the floor to you. Otherwise, we have other questions and challenges that were submitted that we're happy to talk about. Those challenges are how do you adopt a B2B model when you're traditionally a B2C business? And the second one is, well, how do you pick the right sales process when consumer behavior is changing constantly? A couple really good ones. Does any other founders in the room, Peggy, do you have anything you would like to put in front of these ladies? Otherwise, we'll take those two topics. You good? Okay. All right. Let's. Which one do you guys want to start with? The B2B model or constantly changing consumer behavior?
I think we should start with the B2B since Sarah's the expert in B2B models.
Let's go.
Do you want to, sorry, Natalie, do you want to start or you want me to start on this one?
Oh, I thought you wanted to start on this one. Did I get confused?
I think I'm getting confused.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. It is definitely a Tuesday.
Definitely a Tuesday.
So B2B model, how do you pivot or add a B2B model to your business when you're traditionally B2C? How do you go about it?
Yeah. So without a ton of facts, kind of a few thoughts to start are, in many ways, you actually have to start the business planning from scratch, right? You have a new ICP to define, you have a new target market, you have a new sales motion, like we were just talking about, right? The way you're doing some sort of marketing funnel to get your B2C customers is completely different than some sort of enterprise sales force that you're likely to need to put together for the B2B. You need to think about the problem statement and the messaging that's going to resonate with that B2B and the price point that's going to make sense. So I think, to start out, it's really kind of sitting down and writing down a whole business plan, right? There's a whole ICP, who's our buyer, who's going to be in that buying discussion, how do we get that person in the room? And then, where do those people hang out? How do I get those first touches? How do I get those meetings? And then how do I move them through the funnel? What are their decision-making criteria? And how am I going to speak to them through that whole process? You need to plan that whole thing. And then you're going to need to hire separate folks to execute on all of that. And you're going to have to hire separate folks to service it. Likely your customer service that's servicing your consumers is not going to be the right profile to account manage or customer success for your enterprise clients. Early days, maybe you have a person or two who are talented enough that they can spread both. But in your long range planning, you're going to want to think about differentiation in the service model as well. So I think, you really have to sit down and pencil out like a whole second business unit.
Yeah, it's the whole process is just really interesting when you really kind of dig into it because um, when you're looking at a B2B model, the sales cycle itself is completely different. The channels you use to sell everything is a complete 180. So, Sarah is 100% correct. Like you have to start over and you have to build and go in and list everything that you would need to build. So it's really a whole new go-to-market strategy. So in my suggestion would always be to hire a go-to-market strategist. Again, fractionally is always great. You can find them on X. But the idea really is that you have to understand that buyer's behavior and that ICP. The other thing is the client delivery. The client delivery is really, really different, be it a product or a SaaS software or a service. Businesses, when you're selling to a business, they expect a different level of service than a direct to consumer, which is much more self-serve when you're selling to a D2C. So explaining the entire life cycle of that customer journey is going to be huge. So again, I agree with everything Sarah is saying. Like, you have to start from scratch and really look at your product and who you want to sell to, and even see if you have a product market fit for them, because you may not. Not every direct to consumer can go to B2B.
Well said. Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining, Edwin. Really appreciate it. Take care. Does anyone
Thanks
have
all.
any questions, or does that resonate? Anyone dealing with this topic right now? When I feel free to unmute yourself, or you can also put it in the chat. I'll give you a few seconds here to jump in, or if any other topics came to mind that you'd like addressed. Doesn't look like it. All right, let's go to the next one then. So, how do you align on the right sales process when consumer behavior changes constantly? You want to start this time, Natalie?
Yeah, I'll start this time. So specifically, the thing to remember is it's actually kind of freeing that the consumer behavior changes constantly, because the thing is, it's iteration, it's testing, it's trialing, it's a lot of A/B testing. So the thing to think about is you just need to build more of a change management system when you are dealing with this consistent change, and really go into this idea of how are you going to evaluate where you want to be from that consumer standpoint. Like, is there a revenue target you want to hit? Is there a profit margin? Is there what are your KPIs? What are your OKRs? What do you need? Then you're going to create your strategy and the levers you're going to pull to get there. And then you're going to test it. You're going to come up with a process that allows you to see how that model is performing, to see how that marketing is performing. And then you're going to make decisions on when is it a true sign that this is working or isn't working? How do you understand that data? And then what tweaks are you going to make? The thing I do want to state, though, is marketing takes time to grow. Every strategy is not going to work in the first 30 days. I have worked with clients where they're like, oh, I just need to go on TikTok shop, and then suddenly I'm going to blow up. It doesn't work. You're playing a long game when you are building customer marketing. And that is for customers or businesses. Like, again, 13 times before they even recognize you and are interested in taking a look at your product. So when you're looking at this, the thing to remember is you want to be strategic in making those decisions. And instead of immediately pivoting, like, wait, take a look and see, is this really a true sign of a change, or this is a temporary glitch in the system? I think in a lot of cases with marketing, businesses like to just stop everything and just immediately go directly to what's going. And because they think, oh, the algorithms change, this has changed, therefore I need to scrap everything I've done. But in a lot of cases, that's a temporary change and it's going to change again. So test, see what works, iterate, and just know that your marketing is going to constantly iterate and change as you keep going.
I absolutely agree with all of that. I think testing and experiments are one of the best things about startups. They're actually why I like working in the seed to Series B world versus the corporate world, because the amount of data required for a test in the corporate world is so much larger, and the ability to create change is so much bigger. The ability to pivot and run real meaningful tests at a smaller scale is so much easier in startups. It's a lot of fun. The thing I would add is testing is a great way to listen to customers. There are also a bunch of other ways to create closed loop feedback within your company. So think about every touch point that you do have with customers, customer service is probably the number one, but depending if you have some sort of an onboarding call, depending on what the product is, that also could be another touch point, or if there are other service touch points. And all of the members of your team that actually speak to a customer, they're hearing what the customer thinks. Empower those people. They're hearing what frustrates the customer, what delights them, what's just on their mind about the industry, the weather, the economy, like what are they feeling and thinking? And they're hearing those shifts in mood. So make sure to empower those people to be giving product feedback. That can look a whole bunch of different ways. When I worked at Tundra, one way we did it with our customer service team is we actually just had a monthly roundtable where the product team and the rest of the business team sat and listened to the customer service team talk. We had them have like a 15-minute conversation with each other about the themes that they were hearing from our customers. And it's just hugely informative to the folks in the business that don't talk to customers day in and day out. It helps your entire company stay customer centric, but it also really can elevate themes. Even sometimes a word, a vocabulary word that keeps coming out that is a new technology or a new, Pantone color of the year or whatever's relevant to your industry that might be really helpful in marketing to make sure you're staying on trend and on brand.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off that too, because 100% that is dead on with the customer service. I think there's even another layer on top of it. So, a lot of things that one of the best practices I always put in place is whoever is talking to the customer, be it your sales team, be it your customer service, be it whatever it is, if they are talking on the consumer side, they need to have some kind of tracking system when they are inputting that email, that phone call, that ticket. And when you collect that data, just it doesn't have to be like miles long, but a couple of pieces of data, you can export that information and quickly see if there are changes or patterns to why people are talking to them. Why are they calling in? What is the issue or what is the thing that they need to talk about? And that is a great signal because if you create that, it's another signal to go to your team and say, oh, why did we have a 20% increase on people calling about the platform? What specifically is going on? Is there a glitch? Is there an issue? Like, if you do it enough, it starts that conversation. And then, because if let's say you have 5 people on your team, person A may have no idea that person B is experiencing the same thing in with their clients. So if you see that and then start that conversation, you'll start recognizing patterns before even sometimes the customer service reps do.
What's actually amazing and changed in this in just the last year and a half is previously, if you were big and had Gong or a tool like that, this work was really easy because you had all your calls recorded and their call analytics and things like that. And if you weren't far enough along to be able to buy one of those tools, it was quite hard. If you do any sort of call transcripting now, Granola or other ways to do it, even the free version of ChatGPT, but even if you go beyond the free version of ChatGPT, with Claude Code, you can build yourself a customized tool. I could build a customized tool. I'm sure Natalie can as well to do call analytics like this. It takes a few hours to set up, and all of a sudden you're running this analysis monthly and you have an incredible amount of insight that you didn't before. This wasn't possible 18 months ago for Series A startups, and now it is.
Very, very, very true. And I think that is a really good, I don't want to completely go off topic, but the really good use case of AI. Like that's what your team should be using AI for. Like that is what AI is built, is to take that data and be able to pull insights and other things at a faster pace than a lot of the manual work that people needed to do. Again, you don't just rely on it, but it is very beneficial to analyzing your customer interactions.
Fantastic. So what do we mean by when we're saying A, B, or C, Series A? It's startup stage. So it's usually funding. So you've got pre-seed, seed, series A, B, C. They're funding rounds, which is a common way of describing the stage of a startup. So that's what we mean. Thank you so much for asking that question. Startup lingo can sometimes take a life of its own.
Yeah.
So
To be
And
fair, though, the definitions have bled over time. Like
yeah,
seed and Series A and Series B used to have more formal definitions around did you have revenue, roughly how many customers you had, certain KPIs, and then they had certain sizes, right? Like a Series A was
yeah,
under 20 million for sure, often more around 10 million. A B was a certain size, et cetera. All these things have really blended. You're seeing $10 million seed rounds sometimes. You're seeing teeny tiny $10 million Series B rounds. I actually think the terms mean less and less. And you actually need to describe companies more and more. Say, this is how many employees they have. This is their revenue or their number of customers. Because we are using those as descriptors, but they're not actually great descriptors.
yeah, at a very high level, a Series A was really you have figured out your product market fit, and now you're really testing it in the wild. You're really trying to sell it, and you're really trying to get it going. Product Series B was okay. You have revenue, and now you're set, like you are scaling very rapidly. Like you have a ton of business coming in, and you have kind of your baseline set. So that's where that whole thing is. Seed is usually like you're just starting out to maybe sell to your first customer and you're really testing like, do we even have a product that works? So when we talk about it from like a lingo, it's really again this what is your company actively working on at this point and what kind of growth stage are they at? And again, it's just old terminology that probably we need to get cut loose, but we just can't. It's ingrained.
Totally.
yeah. I mean, look at Next. We're considered pre-seed, but we're post-revenue with product market fit. So and
Well,
scaling. So it's tough. It really does need to change.
and with AI tools, what you can do to get to profitability, I mean, the dynamics change, which is great, right? I love Scrappy.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. All right. So we've got a lot of fractional execs, I think, or thinking about becoming a fractional exec or consultant in the room. But before we jump to those questions, any other founders, business owners, business execs that didn't get their topic addressed, raise your hand. We can give you the floor. Otherwise, we're going to jump into fractional exec questions. Okay. Fantastic. We got one already. Hot topic: pricing for fractional executive services. Stephanie, would you like feel free to come on camera and share a little bit more so we make sure the responses are relevant to you?
Sure. My internet is a little unstable, so when I come off of camera or off a video, it can crash. So I'm just going to leave myself off camera
No
for the
problem.
moment. Yeah, my question was really in thinking about how to price a service that you're offering, right? There are so many ways that you can do it, and you can do it hourly, you can do it retainer, project based, and I'm just curious on how what what you've seen work and maybe not work. And I've also seen a lot of commentary around don't underprice yourself.
Mhm.
And how do you determine what that is so that you can still build your business without screwing yourself or
Okay.
screwing your future self?
Sorry, this is my like hill I'm gonna die on. So I'm definitely taking this over. Okay, so number one, um, the idea is you have to switch your mindset. And I know this is really hard, but what happens is when people are starting out fractional or to your point, building a business, there is this inherent need or thought process that you are starting over, you are building something from scratch. And that is not the case. The point of being a fractional executive is you literally are taking all of your work experience and everything you have built, you are just packaging it differently and selling it to multiple companies instead of just working for one company full time. So what happens is when people start out fractional, they think I've got to prove myself, I've got to start over, I've got to get a couple of low deals or work with people I don't want to work with because that's the way I only gain business. The problem with doing that is the way to really build your fractional business is through a referral network, which includes your clients. So if you work with low pricing clients and you underprice yourself, then those are what's going to keep coming back to you as a referral. So you're going to keep getting all the work you hate. You're going to be really resentful at some point and be miserable. And you're going to say, why am I bothering to do this? The way to think about this, including your pricing, is we have to get to this point of building your business intentionally. So take out the idea of a fractional exec, take the idea of a consultant out, and you are a CEO of your business. Okay. Think of a name, doesn't mean you have to have it, but you are the CEO of Stephanie's company. And so your pricing and what you're building has to be like back ended from where you want to end. So if you want your revenue to be X amount by the end of the year, then you need to back up your work and your pricing to match where you need to hit from your revenue targets. There is no difference between running a business like Apple and running your business. But for some reason, we think there is. We think we have to prove ourselves. It doesn't work that way. So if your question is what model works best, honestly, it's the monthly retainer. There are two reasons why that works the best. Number one, a lot of the companies you are working with, 100% have a specific budget. If you are working hourly, that amount you're going to charge to that invoice is going to drastically change month to month, whether or not they even realize it. It happens all the time. So then the customer gets upset because you've just thrown their budget into a like total chaos without meaning to, because you were trying to fulfill their work and their needs. With a monthly retainer, it works on both sides because the business knows exactly how much they're going to get charged for your work every month. It is stagnant. They know it. They can put it into their budget. They can put it into their forecast. It is consistent. It is great from an operational and finance perspective. For you, you are charging for outcomes. So your work could vary a couple hours each week or each month or what. You can't be that specific and that prescriptive to do hourly. And so that is where we're going to go into that. And I hope I got everything. And I know Sarah's going to speak on this too, but is there anything I missed, Stephanie, on your question?
No, that's actually, it's really great because I was really hung up on this whole creating that trust and, because, and then like wanting to get people in the door. And then now you confirmed it because I had heard anecdotally that can kind of just cut you off at the knees and
100%.
you don't even realize it's happening, right?
Yep.
For future work. So thank you.
Yeah. So the same thing. So again, I was ops. So if somebody was going to hire me full time, my rate doesn't change to the fact of that I'm part-time now. My revenue is going to match the salary I need to make my life work and my business work and my family work. And from a client perspective, because I'm delivering the same type of outcomes I delivered when I was a full-time employee at half the cost or a fourth of the cost to them, they're even happier with the results. And it is a win-win on both sections. So no, you don't have to prove yourself. You are just, I like to call it the hostess cupcake. I don't know where this came from this week. I think it's because my husband bought some. You are just, it's the same cake. You're just changing the packaging it comes in. That's all it is. You are repackaging you. That hasn't changed.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, so a few things to underline from what Natalie said and then to add on. One thing to underline is your business is your career. You've been building your expertise over however many years of your career. You're selling your expertise, and therefore you're selling your 20-year career or whatever it is, and that's what you're pricing. So remember that when you're pricing, all of the work you've done up to this day has gotten you to the point of why someone's going to buy you. They're buying all of that experience, and that is why you're at some level of a premium price. If you were one day out of college, no one would be buying the service from you at all at any price, right? So you're not starting over, just like Natalie said. But the years and years of hard work you put in are why the premium price now makes sense. Um, Two, I can speak after over a decade at Bain and Company. You charge per month. That's how Bain charges. That's how McKinsey charges. That's how BCG charges. That's the way to charge. That is how you make the most money. Um, some law firms have started charging that way too because they've realized that they actually make less money hourly. Project based is okay too. So I actually will throw that out there. Retainer is a great way to do it when you're on a more open-ended engagement. If there's a more finite project, um, we need to fix the system, we need to whatever, a project-based price is okay. I try to get it as close to a retainer as possible. And the way I do that is I estimate for myself, okay, we're implementing a deal desk. That's going to take me 10 hours a week for 4 weeks. I'm going to charge for this project 1 month of what my retainer for a 10-hour a week retainer would be. So, and I'll call it a project price. And right, if it's going to take me 6 weeks, I'll charge what a month and a half of that would have cost me. So I'll align the pricing, but I do think project-based pricing is okay as well. It also gives you flexibility. If 1 week everyone's available to meet and you want to work 25 hours because you're getting a ton done, you can. And then if it makes sense to work 2 hours the next week, you can work 2 hours the next week. And that's all good as long as you're delivering results.
And Mary, does that also answer your question of how do you sell a service that can be very customized? Were you asking from a fractional executive perspective or from a business? I mean, it's kind of the same answer, but just for
Yeah.
context.
Yeah. So my business is strategic and project planning.
Okay.
So kind of like a fractional project manager. Um, but I won't be managing the project. Um, so yeah, like I have a rate that I've determined from I used to work at somebody else's firm, so I took in between my rate there and what their CEO had as a billable rate. So I think I'm okay with my billable rate. And the clients that I've had have paid close to the full rate. My problem is I'm not finding people who um, know that they need me because everybody needs strategic and project planning. But also that they're the decision maker or they're from an organization that has enough money. Because there's plenty of people, well, not plenty of people, there's definitely people who are interested, but just don't have the budget for that sort of thing.
Okay. So I'm gonna let Sarah go because again, I will take over all these because again, these are hills I die on. But Sarah brought this up with Edwin's answer. And I think this is, I mean, question. And so I'm gonna let her take it because it's a very similar answer.
Yeah, I that's exactly where my head was going also is are you selling the problem correctly? Do people fully first of all, define your ICP and qualify. If people can't pay, they're not your ICP and they're not good people to be talking to. And I work with startups. I often end up in conversations and realize halfway through the person can never pay. And they're a nice person and I finish the conversation, but then I put them on my, outside the ICP list for later. So that's a qualification call. It happens, but your ICP has to be people that can pay. So I'd think about defining that for yourself and as much as possible focusing on talking to people there. And then I would think about nailing in on why can't people live without you? What's their solution today? And what are they gaining? What's the ROI from hiring you? Are they saving time? Are they saving money? Is their project getting done faster? What are they getting? Because it's probably real and tangible and show them those metrics. And then they're going to understand why they need to spend money on this.
Okay. So everything dead on. I want you to think about it three ways, right? This is an easier way to think about it when you're trying to do it for you. Because sometimes it's really easy for us to see that when we're working for a company. But when it's us, we're like, oh no, this is completely different, right? So I want you to think about three things. Number one, who do you enjoy working with? Okay. Who do you like working with? Like companies. What are you passionate about? What do you like? Go back into that work history that you have and say, I loved working at this company. I loved working with this type of people, right? That's number one. That helps you with your ICP. Okay. The second is what do you like to do? Which it seems like you have an idea. What do you like to do? The third is understanding why would I hire you over someone who does the exact same thing as anyone else? That is why me, right? You need to have those three pillars. So once you know who you like working with and you like understanding what makes you you and what you do, you can then figure out your true ICP. Again, very basic, but it's easier when this is in your head. Then you take that and you have to look at it from that person's point of view. So let's say it's a founder at a nonprofit, right? Okay, I want to work with, and they like dogs or what. So you go and you figure out what are the things that they are feeling that would be signals that they don't know is what you solve. Because that's what you need to get across. You need to be able to explain to somebody when you start feeling this, it is time to bring me in. Once you get that part in, then it's okay, great. I can explain what I can do. I can explain who I help. I can explain why they need me. And then to Sarah's point, you get your ROI. Is it worth spending $10,000 for, and I'm making up numbers right now, but for a project, for you to get the project done 3 months earlier and save $50,000 in labor cost? Hell yeah, it is. Of course, I'm going to bring you in. But they don't know that because they don't know they need you yet because they just feel those pain points. You need to understand the pain points they feel so that you can then tell them, this is why you need me. This is what I can do for you. This is why me. And this is what it's going to save you. Time, capacity, energy, profit, you name it.
Yeah. I can share one of my like LinkedIn posts that I've done recently.
The question I'm going to say is it from the founder? So what we tend to do is we use language and signals that we understand, but they don't because they're not the expert we are. So what would the founder, what language would they use? What feelings would they have? What are the signals that they understand? And what is the ROI they understand? Because that is, you need to speak to them, not to other people who do what you do.
I agree. I think the one thing I'll add is, Natalie, you said it. This project will be done 3 months earlier. That saves 50,000 in staffing cost. You need to remember to finish that sentence. You can't just say this project ends 3 months early. Isn't that great? Pay me to do this project. It sounds silly, but people need it spelled out for them. People need to remember that finishing a project 3 months early means that's 50,000 in labor costs. That's now doing something else productive. Like you need to actually finish the loop, and you want to finish it with a dollar sign because you want them thinking about a dollar sign of savings when they look at your fees.
And I want to explain why this matters so much. So I had a potential client and I talked to them, I want to say it was October, and the answer came back of you're too costly, right? I can't afford you right now, like we can't. To Sarah's point, I moved them out of my ICP. They can't afford me. They're not the right fit. They came back to me and signed a contract last week. Why? Because everything I said, including those pain points and those dollar amounts, all added up. It hurt their revenue. It hurt this. And she came back and she said, it is too costly not to fix this now. And that is the thing, is you're able to explain that pain point. Now they don't have a choice. If they don't put that money up and get this fixed, then the company won't ever get that revenue and profit they need. They won't get to that next step. They won't get to where they need. That's why it's so important they understand that dollar, because she waited 3 months and then was like, oh my God, it's worse. I can't do it. I can't fix it. And if I don't, I know exactly what this is costing me, my company, and my team.
Fantastic. Well, we got a couple minutes left. I just want to remind everybody of the perks today. You got $500 off a fractional engagement, and you've got a free month of premium if you're considering joining Knex as a professional. Would love to have you in our consider joining our community, but feel free to reach out to me at katie@knex.pro, knex.pro. If you have any questions or would like to meet with me, I would be more than happy to do so. You also have links directly to Sarah and Natalie's profiles. You can book a free consult directly from the Knex profile. Everyone's going to get this in a message too, probably on LinkedIn, I imagine. I don't think we have everybody's email addresses, but nonetheless. And Natalie also has coaching services for new fractional execs. As you can tell, she knows her stuff. So feel free to book her for those services from her Knex profile too. Thank you all so much for your time, especially Natalie and Sarah. Great input. I think this was great success for our first workshop of this kind. And everyone, please take care. And I hope to see you soon.
Thanks for organizing, Katie.
You're welcome. Stop recording.
Thank you guys for all attending. It was a pleasure, and hopefully this was helpful for all of you guys.